Hey, welcome back. And I'm here talking with Gil Santos and Harry Tomboatko. And just before the break, we talked about the election. The election's coming up. And we want to put certain people in who are going to be doing something other than buying votes. We're there to say, are they going to be doing these things that are going to be good for building the country, right? And I raised a question. What demographic group are we going after? And Harry said, look, demographically, the world isn't just Manila. You know, we have, but I know from my experience that when we're in our 40s, we're real busy, we're making money, and we're not thinking so much about doing good. We're mostly thinking about doing well, I think, you know. And certainly I was that way, and a lot of people were. How do we capture that group that have the expendable income, who have the clout because they're out there working and they're in a position of more or less power in the business area? How do we capture them? How do we get them to say, okay, I'm going to, instead of devoting 24 hours a day to doing things well, I'm going to devote 2 hours of that time to doing things good or doing good things. Okay. How do we apply? How do we target those people? You know, like I said, in the election in the United States, the president targeted young people. He targeted across all demographic groups, really. But that's what brought him over the hump. How do we target this group, the people that really do have the power? How do we get them to vote the way that you would like to see them vote?
Okay, I think we have to look at it from this perspective. Okay. Number one, the culture in the U.S. is different from the culture here.
Absolutely.
Although the culture, U.S. American culture has been contaminating the Filipino culture, and which has been dynamic, and what the younger generation now call global culture in nature. Okay. So we have to look at the numbers first. If you look at the numbers from ages 10 to 40, that's the biggest number of our people, you know. And if you look at the ages from 21 to 40, those are the people who are just about to graduate from college.
Most productive.
Most productive, because now, number one, they're young, they've got all the enthusiasm, you know, and by the time they're 40, they're still maintain, hopefully, they still maintain that kind of idealism they have in them. And they want to move the earth just to get the improvements for the country, you know. So I think those are the people we have to zero in and educate and simplify the complex things about social, political, economic, environmental, and even geopolitical factors, so that they understand all those that impact on our lives. Then they will be able to move and vote for the right people, vote for the ideologically based political figures, and those who are really out for political service to country. You know, these are the people that we need. And how many are they? Well, there are several estimates. I call them guesstimates. And we're saying this is 40% of our total population.
40%?
40%, yes. And what is our total number of voters for this coming election? It's something like 45 to 47 million people.
Okay, so,
let's say even 49 million out of the 100 million, over 100 million. That's still a good figure.
The problem is the man on the street we should identify should be the most productive group, because they're the ones who will bring the country forward. The problem is this is not necessarily the people we necessarily talk to. Here in Metro Manila, where we have 2 million people who are actually employed, who generate the taxes that we get on an annual basis, that's just Metro Manila and some of the cities. However, the people are spread all over the provinces, and the problem is this is where education is weaker.
And that's 70% of our total population.
So here you have a majority because we have a democracy, and we have to follow the concept of the theories we live in, which is democracy and freedom. but we are being led by a majority that is not necessarily properly educated. So they refuse technology innovations, and be it for the backyard or the backroom industries. This is where the real problem lies. While education is the only solution, it takes at least a generation.
Yes.
You're looking at least 20 years. And government, from day one into the 20th year, has to complement like what we call a matching.
Yes.
You know, you match the industry, or you match the technology and the education that goes with it as you educate them, as you bring them through school. You know, it's like what happened to us about in the last 8 years. I remember 10 years ago when the demand for nurses was really high and everybody wanted to become a nurse, even doctors, scientists, teachers turned into nursing, only to find out that there are no jobs for nursing, which is what's happened today.
Yes.
We have so many hundreds of thousands, probably 1 million already.
And they reverted to caregivers.
Caregivers. You see, the job matching, government has been remiss. And I think this neglect is criminal almost, because people come out of an education with technologies they cannot use because it's not required. While we require food, that I think the foundation, especially of the Futuristic Center, food is the most important, and energy. Energy you cannot. It's very difficult because foreign direct investments, while we open the country, is not open to foreigners or foreign direct investment, because the Constitution in '87 has banned it. Yes. So what's happened is all the big ticket items are being picked up by the rich and the very rich, only to become disgustingly rich. If you'll notice, they're all into the big ticket items.
It breeds elitism.
Yes, elitism, which is where we're going. And the dynasties being voted into politics, which are now being promoted by media and the surveys, what I call the false surveys, to promote a trending so that these people get into power because they have the money and they're buying already the services of media and surveys to promote themselves into positions, because they already have the wealth, the manufacturing sector. Now they want the authority as well.
Yes.
Now, that is normal. The danger here is these families, as they turn and mutate into oligarchies, will fight each other. They will war each other. This is what happened pre-martial law. This is one of the reasons why we had martial law. This happened in China. This happened all over Asia. It happened all over Europe. The dynasties.
Where countries it happened, the normal average man in the street, the people themselves, the food producers, get out.
Yes, they get out.
They get out.
See, it's called insatiable appetite and the greed. Now, if we can match the education of 20 years starting today, and government be consistent, inclusive of its bureaucracy, to promote the directive towards one specific goal, then we will work. 2013 should be the beginning. The problem is, as much as 2013 provides an illusion of reform, the elections itself is also a problem and a distraction.
I have a question.
Which needs reform. Yeah,
I have
go
a
ahead.
question. You started off with the word taxonomy.
Yes.
And then explained that, well, this just means we understand how individual parts work. We just said that the major voting block that we would really like to go after are the 20 to 40-year-olds, right?
Ideally, the productive.
Okay, good, wonderful. Are we speaking in terms right now that they would understand? Is our conversation right now, between the three of us, is our conversation using a vocabulary that would be interesting or that would get those people to move in the direction we want them to go?
No.
I would like us to simplify it further in another program.
Okay.
In another program. Yes.
No, because that's the point that we're really making, isn't it?
That's right.
How do we know the demographic group that we want to go after. What language and what approach? How do we approach that? How do we do that?
It doesn't matter if we're talking in English and you say, no, we'll talk in Tagalog.
No, I don't mean English. No, I don't mean it. The language itself is what we're talking about.
I wanted to clarify that because the medium today, as media has promoted, is entertainment.
That's right.
Instant win, instant reward.
Thank you.
So this is the direction. That's why we should vote Willie Revillame to be president. We should vote Nora Honor to be vice president and Abunda to be cabinet secretary.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
And then government will give away, you know, like the conditional cash transfers.
5,000
Yeah, 5,000, 3,000, line up, you know,
Yeah.
we all become subjugates.
And then we can all go out and do the step and fetch it thing and
Yeah.
act
Yeah.
real stupid.
But this is the direction the country is taking. This is the way the people want it. The majority of the Filipinos want this. It's sad, but it's so true, isn't it? And
True,
why do
true.
they care? They have become cynical. The people have become cynical of what government can do because they've seen in their fathers and their grandfathers that there has been no changes.
Because
Land reform has failed them.
Yeah.
You know, they had to sell it out, right? So it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
and because politics in the Philippines is personal and transactional.
Okay,
That's what I've been saying
here's,
all
here's the
along.
point.
Yeah.
Culturally,
Yes.
it's personal and transactional.
Yes.
How do we use that to get what we want? Or do we have to? We can't do away with that because that's
Well,
that's inbred in
yeah.
the Filipino
Yeah,
people.
right. But go
Education. Education coupled with a benevolent strong arm. I don't think this system of democracy, because democracy and the system of our system is horse trading. What do I get if I give?
Yeah, that's
What-
the transaction.
Yes, this is what happens in Congress. It happens in the Senate, as we've just seen it. And then when the bigger issues come out, there are those that become divisive, like the RH bill. How can you say, let's unite and go forward, when the whole country is, I'm pro-RH, you're anti-RH.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
pro-Catholic Church, you're anti.
And they don't forget it.
Yes. I mean, I'm
inside families themselves.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's
I'm
very-
still anti-RH. I don't care if it was signed into law. That's wrong. I'm still against the sin taxes, not because the cigarettes went up 2 pesos. No, I'm against that because it's going to kill the local industry. It's going to promote foreign products to come in cheaply to compete with our local products. I'm being protective because take that away, it's like our chickens. You know, the introduction of foreign chicken at cheaper pricing. Oh, terrific competition. And then it wipes out your industry, and then they begin to start increasing the price of chicken, and we can't afford it any longer.
But what the government should do is to eliminate this what we call the import substitute
Yeah,
program. You see,
What,
In
I
short-
don't know what that
Especially
is.
rice,
Can you
yes.
explain that very quickly?
well, what it means is they don't give enough incentives to capital to come in and invest in
improving
the
that industry.
Improve the industry by buying new technologies, by using the modern equipment for productivity, by getting the people more qualified with the proper, appropriate education, fit and demanded by the industry.
Maybe from Harry mentioned before the foreign direct investment. As a foreigner and as a person
We
who
don't-
has run businesses in foreign
Foreigners are
countries,
not welcome in
you
the
know,
Philippines.
The point is that I can't even own my own home,
Yeah,
although I
see
pay
what I
for
mean?
it. You see,
No, no.
and so
Foreign investment is not welcome.
It's not a welcome thing, and
It's not welcome.
it's not a good thing. Well, the fact is, you're never going to get a whole lot of people to bring money in.
Of course.
Under those circumstances.
Well, there is one practice in the Philippines today which is hardly talked about in media. And this is the objective of the local government officials is different, diametrically opposite the objective of the national government
good
planning
point.
official.
Okay, there's a really good point. Manila doesn't understand what's happening in Iloilo, I guess.
And
Is
Iloilo
that-
officials are saying Manila doesn't understand
Yeah,
us. You know,
right.
And they
So
don't care.
They don't care. That's why. And so, if you are not going to make the incentive, not give the incentives for the capitalist, foreigner or local, he's not going to go in there. There's nothing for him. You see, and if the Filipino local government officials will have this kind of mentality all the time, well, you're going to be rich. How about me? That's the rental mentality. That is going to be counterproductive. Nobody's
one of the things, we all know maybe intellectually, but somehow don't work it out in real life, I suppose, that the small and medium businesses are what drive a country. These are the ones that don't. But if you, right now, the way that the laws are here, you're not going to get any small and medium foreign companies coming in because they're not, look at it. I'm going to give away 60% of my stuff. You know.
Well, let me give you.
It just isn't going to happen.
Let me give you a concrete example. A concrete example is Ireland.
Okay.
Ireland was able to do it in 20 years. What did they do? They eliminated corruption. How? In government. How?
What, they didn't kill off 80% of their people.
No, they didn't line them up against the wall and shoot them. No. What they did was they gave tests for the government officials. Those who failed were retired. They were not fired. They were retired. Okay.
So meritocracy. They went back to the
meritocracy.
And it goes back to that point, and a point that I ask very often. Do we have a bureaucracy based on meritocracy here?
For now, no, because of
we don't.
Because of the personal and transactional way politics
but
is.
We do need
practiced.
that to sustain growth. That's
we have ruined institutions here because professionals and career officials can only go so far, and politics dictates who will be the head chief honcho. So you can only go so far.
And we change leadership every 3 years.
Yes, and it's only during Arap's time, President Arap, that he appointed only cabinet secretaries. He did not go into undersecretaries and assistant secretaries and director generals and commissioners. But every other leader, even this one, Pinoy, up to USEC, until ASEC, he appoints. So if you're directors, yes. So if you're in the career profession, your career professional.
You have no career path then.
Yeah, you can only go so far.
There's only career path.
You can only go so far, and you have to leave. And things change. Like in government now, when GMA was there, even though the salaries were low, government employees were able to get at least 18 months, 22 months pay, as a bonus, which really augmented their monthlies. Today, with the low monthlies, with 1 month only as per law, which is 13 months, it is not worth staying in government. So many are jumping out. The only thing maybe you have are specific securities. But the PhilHealth card ain't gonna cure you. It's a piece of plastic. And everyone keeps saying it's the PhilHealth.
Yes.
We don't have enough hospitals. Forget the card because it's the hospitals and the medicines you need. And right now they're gonna buy more condoms instead of more medicines.
I'm gonna set aside the RH bill because we probably don't agree on that.
Yeah.
But the point that I was wanting to make is, again, my experiences. I grew up in the United States. I lived most of my adult life in Japan, and I've been here. In Japan, their system was the politicians are a bunch of fools, so we just don't mess with them very much. If they don't get too far out of line, we leave them alone and let them play their games. But we have the bureaucracy. The bureaucracy is what brought Japan out of out of devastation after World War II. It was the semi-governmental organizations that brought it all out. And the bureaucracy, the very best, the elite from the elite universities went into the bureaucracy. Those are the people that were hired in the bureaucracy,
well,
the ones that were able to go. It's strictly a meritocracy. It was strictly a meritocracy. And it's served them well. Now it's breaking down. It's breaking down. Politics is getting a little bit too much clout, and it's just as silly as it ever was there. So it's actually perhaps weakening the actual government there. But here, do the people, do the best of the best in the best universities, do they go into government?
No.
They don't here, right? They don't.
No. In fact, most of them don't want to go into government unless their families have been in government already.
Unless they're part of an oligarchy.
Or part of the old families who have been in politics for a long, long time. See, because, again, this goes back to culture. Where they're most comfortable, they want to stay in and enjoy that. They don't want to give that up. Now, the younger generation, they want to go out. How many of our young people go out every day?
Well, what's the question you were just going to ask? How many $billion is remitted from abroad?
Okay.
We're doing about 24, 25 now.
Yeah.
24 to 25 billion dollars.
$1 billion. That's a lot of money.
that bears out just what you're saying.
Yes.
So,
through the
everybody's
banking
leaving,
system,
right?
Yes.
You know.
not the informal system.
That's
That's
right.
just through the banking, traditional banking
Guys,
system.
we've only got about 3 minutes left,
Okay.
and I want to hear just a real quick from Harry first, and then Gil, about what your vision at this day next year, what are we going to see better?
Okay. What I would think is, well, I'm putting my hat in the ring, so I'm running for Congress, and I promote a platform. And the platform is to address Laguna de Bay. It's not whether we're going to do it, if we're going to do it. It's a matter of when are we going to do it, because we have to address Laguna de Bay, or else more people and more lives and more destruction to property will happen. I have a platform. I hope the other 4 contestants in Muntinlupa going for representative have a platform to offer. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm looking at this from the geopolitics
Okay.
perspective, from the food and water security, and from the demography, and what's the total development of the country. For next year, it's going to be a little bit better, hopefully. Why? Because the indications are there that the recovery from the world global depression of 2008 is going to be better. Why? Because there is now this mad scramble for search for alternative sources of energy. And once that is done, you can have the economic activities that countries need, the Philippines being one of them. Number 2 is because of the geopolitical problems in the Pacific area, there is going to be also a danger, a probability of, possibility, not probability really, possibility of somebody in the Chinese People's Liberation Army to make a mistake and squeeze the trigger. And that is a shooting war. Hitler and Tojo during the Second World War made the same mistake. And they tried to unite their people by getting an outside whipping boy, in this case of the Chinese. It's the whole world trying to humiliate them, because the Chinese have their own internal domestic problems. So this is what I am trying to look out for.
So that's
so
the thing,
in that
right.
case, we, the Filipinos, must now look at our advantage. What is our advantage? Our advantage are in the food production and the renewable energy source.
Okay, well, hey, food. I would like to see sustainable programs in which there are no children that go to sleep at night hungry. Which is my goal, of course. And all you folks out there, I'm always delighted to be able to have Gil and
Thank you.
Harry on the show, because I get to just sit and learn and have a really good time while I'm at it. I learned about or whatever it was today. And all you folks out there, thank you so much for inviting us into your living rooms. Guys, it sure wouldn't be any fun without you. And we're going to be right back here next week. And until then, straight ahead.